Vlad Tepes really changed the way Wallachia looked by building a whole set of new fortresses, of using new key points that he reinforced.
He knew he was on the brink of war with the Turks, that was clear. He was preparing then his country.
To the new prince, Wallachia was now a war state. Once prevention of foreign attack was completed, he turned to ensuring the loyalty of the nobility.
He assembles all the boyars, the nobles, to a great feast, and he wined and dined them. Ironically asked them how many rulers they had seen in their lifetime, and some of them mentioned 12, a large number of princes who had been on that throne. And what did this show to him? That they had no respect for the prince. And then afterwards, when they little suspected it, he had the place surrounded. He took them on a death march to his mountain lair, Castle Dracula at Pojenar.
And made them work side by side, elbow to elbow with the peasants to rebuild and reinforce the Pojenari castle.
And many of them fell from the rock, it's a 1,000-foot drop on all sides. It's a precarious sort of place. Many died from exhaustion and from lack of proper nourishment, but soon turned from being, let's say, a man who was apparently at first relatively popular to someone who was feared.
To ensure absolute loyalty, Prince Vlad employed a terror tactic he witnessed as a boy in Adrianople: impalement.
The classic way of impaling is to take the victim, put them spread eagle on the ground, tie the arms to one set of horses and the legs to another. Then you take a stake. What happens is the horses move slowly forwards, then the ropes are cut, and then you're hoisted up on this stake or pole. You die very slowly, not from your innards being pierced, but from exposure to the elements generally. Purpose, a lasting example of what can happen to you if you disobey the rules. It's effective.
With his ancestral throne secure, Vlad would restructure the social hierarchy and install a strict moral code that would result in the slaughter of thousands of his own people. Having established himself as sole sovereign, and with his court cleansed of disloyal noblemen, Vlad turned to restructuring the gentry to create a new nobility, loyal only to him.
He got rid of most of the old gentry. There's a noticeable drop in the old families during his reign. What did he do? He replaced them with lower gentry, who'd be beholden to him and more loyal, more trustworthy. And those are the ones he used to carry out his terror tactics of impalement.
With his henchmen in place, Vlad's obsession with loyalty and control led him to install a severe moral code, punishable only by death.
He was an extreme law and order man, and all the chronicles testify that during his lifetime there was law and order in Wallachia. He would punish you by impalement for little offenses as well as big ones. If a woman committed adultery, he had her body skinned and then exposed on the village square as a lesson to adulterous wives. Or if a woman was lazy, he'd have her hands cut off and impaled on the village square as a lesson to lazy wives. And he impaled the old people and the children because they were useless.
Naturally, the fear of his wrath kept rebellion down to a minimum. According to peasant tradition, Vlad placed a priceless gold cup in every village square for all the peasantry to admire. Many drank from it, but no one dared steal it. The cup remained in the square throughout Vlad's entire reign as a symbol of his absolute power.
What he wanted to do was to establish the fact that he was the absolute ruler, and what better absolute ruler is it than to be godlike? That's what it's all about. God has the power of life and death, and it's indiscriminate, let's face it. That's the essence of terror.
Before long, execution was not only administered as a punishment, but became the prince's favorite pastime. Vlad would kill at a whim.
Vlad liked to dine amid his impaled victims in his local city, and the stench must have been unbearable throughout the place. He would have the blood gathered in bowls in front of him, and he took bread, dipped it in the blood of his victims, and slurped it down. In fact, one case, a Polish nobleman held his nose. He was there, you know, having dinner with Vlad. And Vlad turned to him and said, "What's the matter with you?" And the fellow said, "My lord, I can't stand the stench of these rotting corpses all around." He said, "Very well, I'll take care of that." And then he had this fellow impaled on a higher stake than the others, and he said, well, now he's up there where the gentle breezes blow, and he doesn't have to worry about the stench down here anymore.
People always gathered to watch public executions, so when he did that, he had it refined to a point of perfection.
This perverted approach to law and order took the lives of thousands of his fellow Christian citizens and turned the royal capital into a stinking graveyard.
Vlad's palace at Târgoviște was surrounded by a high hedge 3 miles in length. There was a corpse hanging from every branch, and as soon as somebody came and cut down a corpse, a fresh corpse was put there in its place. And that is one of the reasons why, indeed, in Turkish, Vlad has the title Kazakçı Vlad, or Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad was an Orthodox Christian with a growing reputation as a sadist and a monstrous appetite for revenge. But as long as he fought against the Ottoman Turks, he was accepted in the Catholic center of Christendom.
Vlad Dracula was the one who fought and tried to stop the spread of Islam into his own area. And he was supported by the Pope.